Hi guys, and today we're here with another podcast. I'm Lamisah, and today we're going to be doing a special edition on Black History Month. So today I'm joined with Mr. Howell.
Hi, and thank you very much for inviting me, Lamisah. I'm looking forward to this.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Black History Month and how it came about, and we just want to tell you everything that you could possibly want to know. So we're going to start off with some questions. So, Mr. Howell, can you please tell us about the origins of Black History Month and how it really just came about?
Absolutely. Black History Month originated in America first. So it was a gentleman called Carter G. Woodson. Now, in around 1875, he was a lecturer in America in Chicago, and he was lecturing of history, and he was, while he was doing his job, he was thinking, well, why is there no representation of people like myself, and where is the history of the black people from Africa and from the Caribbean who came to America and helped build the country as well? So there doesn't seem to be any representation. So what he wanted to do was to make it clear to people, not only that black people but non-black people as well, that there is works and efforts and accomplishments made by black people, and he wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that. Yeah. So he started it as Black History Week. So really it was just a few celebrations and events to let people be aware of black history. But then it started to grow in popularity. So by the time we got to the early 20th century, around 1920s, it really became popular. And then it moved to not just being a popular place, an event in America, it actually came to the shores of the UK, but it came to the shores of the UK probably around 1987, 1985. And that's linked to celebrating the 150th anniversary of the emancipation, meaning the freedom of the Caribbean and Africans of slavery when they came to Britain. So therefore that's a perfect opportunity to tie it all together, and let's have a Black History Month. So again, recognizing the achievements and accomplishments of black people within history. So yeah, that's where it really started. It started off in America there, and it was just for a week, and that was like in the late 19th century, and then all the way to 1985, 87 in the UK.
Okay, my next question is kind of a personal one. Who has personally inspired you?
Great question. For me, I'd have to say Nelson Mandela. Now, many people have heard of Nelson Mandela, but his achievements go far beyond just his name. He was, during the time in South Africa, they had this situation called apartheid, and that was really separating the black people, the indigenous people there, from the white people. And the black people there, black South Africans, were treated as second-class citizens, and he saw that, being a black man himself, as being totally unfair and unreasonable, and so he started to protest about it, and the authorities saw him as a threat and said that he was causing political terrorism, and so he was arrested and imprisoned for over 2 decades. And he was completely innocent, but they kept him away from the public eye. But people started to protest for his freedom, and eventually, when he was finally released, and he was well into his latter years of his life, he became Prime Minister of South Africa. So he'd gone from being imprisoned as an activist to finally being a Prime Minister of the country. So absolutely amazing. So for me, his resilience and perseverance is a true inspiration for me.
Wow, that was just amazing to hear. But now we're getting on to your favorite part, the quiz. So I've got a few questions.
Cool.
My first one is, can you name 3 Caribbean islands?
Three is nothing, because there are around 700 Caribbean islands. I know, it's incredible, 700. And the Caribbean, it's not a massive area, but there are lots of small islands dotted within the Caribbean. But the largest Caribbean island, which people weren't aware of, is Cuba. Now, Cuba is actually part of the Caribbean, and it's huge in comparison to some other islands. And then there are more popular islands that people are well aware with, like Jamaica. Jamaica is probably the most popular island in the Caribbean, namely because the most world-famous reggae recording artist Bob Marley was born there and lived there and made lots of his music there to share to the world. Also, where the fastest man on earth is from, which is Usain Bolt, as we all know. So absolutely amazing, and everyone is familiar with Jamaica, and that's where my father's from as well. So for me, Jamaica is an important place for me. And secondly, as important Caribbean island for me is Barbados. Now, Barbados is where my mum came from. That's on the far eastern side of the Caribbean. So the Caribbean sort of like goes in a large arch, and the arch is from the top here where Cuba is, and as it comes round, then you have a tiny little island called Barbados, and that's where, and also not only my mom, but the famous recording artist Rihanna's from Barbados as well. So yeah, 3 islands for you.
Okay, my next question is, why is the port of Tilbury in Essex significant in Black history?
That is a really, really good question, and it is hugely significant because in Tilbury in Essex is where the ship, the Empire Windrush, docked. Now, it's really important because people must understand that as part of the Empire, which used to be headed by the Queen, but now the King, they used to go to their countries in the Empire and say, well, we need you to come over to England to help rebuild our country. Our country is struggled because of the war, the Second World War, and we need you to come over and rebuild it. But they sold it in a really sneaky way, where the people of the Caribbean were told, if you come to England, life for you is so much better. You're going to have great places to live. It's a great atmosphere. It's so welcoming. The streets are paved with gold. And they made all these promises to the Caribbeans, and they thought, whoa, they're making it sound so good. Life here, there's not much work. Let's get over to England and live a really good life.
Who wouldn't?
Exactly. And they did that, and they came over and they left a glorious sunshine, sun-kissed island, beautiful sand and beaches, and they came to England in the winter where it was cold and it was raining and it was windy, and all they were wearing were their colourful Caribbean clothes. They were like, are you serious? This is where we've come to. This isn't paved with, the streets aren't paved with gold. This is not what we thought it was going to be.
What a disappointment.
Absolutely. And but they persevered as well, and they stuck with it, and they made England their home. But it was a really, really difficult change for them.
Okay, and my final question is, who is the most successful basketball player?
Most successful basketball player, it's got to be Michael Jordan. Now, everybody's heard of Michael Jordan. They know about Space Jam. If they've never seen him play basketball, they've seen Space Jam. And he is so wealthy, so inspirational. He started off playing baseball. He wanted to be a baseball player, and he was really small. And he thought, well, I'm never going to make it as a basketball player. But he made it as a basketball player, and he's worth well over $1 billion. And his shoes are renowned throughout the world. Air Force Ones, which all the kids like to wear, but the Jordans themselves, they all come from Michael Jordan's name and his brand. So yeah, definitely the most successful, the most exciting, and probably the richest as well.
Okay, now can you tell us about any events that are happening?
Absolutely. Now, Black History Month is celebrated in October in the UK. In America, they celebrate it in February. But in the UK, it's in October, where we are now. And there are so many events going on. If you go down to the Newark Museum, they have an exhibition there all about Black History Month. And it catalogues all the kind of people that have been involved in Leicester, and the things that they've invented, how they came here, all the different kind of artifacts that they've got. It's an amazing display that people should go there. Exhibition is really, really interesting. And they also do a tour of Leicester, where there's a minibus, and they have people dressed in characters. So you have like a town crier who's giving everybody the information and telling them, like the tour guide, telling them all about the different spots in Leicester. And also there's a lady dressed as a Victorian teacher, just to say that Black people have been present and making contributions in England, and especially in Leicester, for a really, really long time, and it's important that we recognise it. So this double-decker bus, it stops off in different significant places in Leicester, showing where Black people, where they first settled, businesses that they started there, clubs and community centres, all about the importance and the significance of Black people, not only in England, but more closer to us in Leicester. So yeah, Black History Month is really important, and the tour is fantastic.
And now I want to ask you about your final thoughts about Black History Month.
For me, it's really, really good. I'm so pleased that you got me here to do the podcast as well, because I really think as a school we can do so much more as well. But this is a great start with the assemblies. It's fantastic. But it's good so that people can know about different people, the diversity that we have in society, and know that it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, there's the achievements that we sure should be allowed to be familiar with and be proud of as well. So, and get out there. There's things going on in the city that are all there for people to enjoy and gain knowledge about. So for me, Black History Month is fantastic. It doesn't have to be just for the month. It can be any time. But just gaining that extra knowledge about somebody who's different to you or yourself is always going to be a good thing. So for me, just go and enjoy it.
Because guys, at Judgemeadow, we celebrate our diversity and we're proud of who we are.
Absolutely.
Okay, so guys, now I want to give you one little notice before we end off. Thursday, November 3rd, from 6 to 7:30, we've got the big show. Come buy your tickets at the main reception. Come, it's going to be fun. You're going to enjoy yourself. So I hope you attend. And that's the end. So bye, guys.
Bye.